When Jane Goodall died at 91, the world lost not only the most renowned primatologist of our time, but a rare moral compass. She spent her life reminding us that we are not above creation, but part of it. From the forests of Gombe, where she revolutionized our understanding of chimpanzees, to podiums across the globe, where she called us back to stewardship, Goodall embodied a humanity rooted in listening, learning, and love. This is Majesty's Sussex Report, and I'm Antonio. Thank you for spending some of your valuable time here with us. For Prince Harry, hers was not just a distant example, it was a friendship, one marked by respect, laughter, and a shared urgency about the planet's future. They first met in 2018 at Kensington Palace, drawn together by their concern for conservation. Months after, Jane visited Frogmore Cottage, where she cradled a newborn, Archie, in her arms, and spoke with Harry and Meghan about Roots and Shoots, her youth empowerment program. That summer at Windsor Castle, Harry joined her for a leadership meeting, and in a moment that went viral, playfully reenacted her chimpanzee greeting Jane had taught him. It was the image of kinship across generations and species. The prince bowing his head in joy to a woman who had bowed her life in service to nature. Their bond was not ceremonial. In September 2019, for a special issue of British Vogue, guest edited by Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry sat down with Jane for a searching interview about climate, compassion, and the fate of our only home. The conversation revealed two kindred spirits: Goodall, blunt in her diagnosis of human greed, and Harry, reflective about his role as a new father and as a man grappling with what legacy to leave behind. Goodall's words were as searing as ever. How is it possible, she asked, that the most intellectual creature that's ever walked on the planet is destroying our only home? Harry answered with his own sense of responsibility, admitting that we've stolen the future from our children and must do the hard work of paying something back. What tied them together was not only shared alarm, but also shared hope. Goodall's lifelong creed was that hope is action, not sentiment, but choice. She built movements by reminding young people that every small decision matters, that even the seemingly powerless can heal the earth. Harry, through his Invictus Games and his advocacy for mental health and conservation, has carried that same conviction into his public life, that humanity is at its best when it chooses empathy over apathy. That is why Harry and Meghan's tribute, issued in the hours after her death, was so achingly simple and true. Dr. Jane Goodall, DBE, was a visionary humanitarian, scientist, friend to the planet, and friend to us. They recalled her holding Archie as a baby, showering him with love, and offering care to everyone privileged to know her. It was not a political statement, not a royal salvo, just a note of affection for a friend and gratitude for a woman who made her life count. And yet, it was enough to draw a torrent of bile online, hatred. Comment section seethed with spite, turning a tribute into a punching bag for vitriol. Imagine that. The death of one of the world's great humanitarians, marked by one of her friends, met not with solemnity, but with jeers. Jeers. If ever there were proof that something is deeply wrong with our species, it is here, truly here. That hate can so casually masquerade as commentary. That cruelty now seems the reflex of far too many. This is where one hears Jane's own warning echoed. She spoke often of humanity's capacity for aggression, our inheritance of destructive instincts, but she never despaired. She insisted that while aggression is natural, cruelty is taught and can be untaught. Kids are taught to hate, she told Harry in that Vogue interview. They are actually taught to hate. And here, in the public sneering at Harry, we see just how far those lessons have sunk in. It is a sickness of spirit, and it corrodes us all of us. But the truth stands. To hunt a man for thanking his friend is not free speech. It is moral rot, disgusting. It is what happens when the clever brain, as Jane would put it, severs itself from the heart. We can send rockets to Mars, but we cannot summon the decency to let people grieve or a family honor the memory of a woman who cradled their child. So, yes, God help us. God help us. But more than that, may Jane help us still. May her memory recall us to ourselves, to empathy, to reverence, to the work of making peace with one another and with the earth. For if we cannot even manage respect in the face of death, then truly, as Jane warned us all, we will lose not only nature, but ourselves. I see it every day. We see it every day. I remember back in high school, joining in the fundraiser for the Jane Goodall Foundation. I didn't know her, but I knew of her work, and we were very proud to help raise money. Indeed, a good humanitarian is gone. And it's a sad state of our society that the first instincts of many was to try and demean a man who has lost a friend with whom he collaborated with. Sad state of our society.
Day after day, in the sun and the wind and the rain, I climbed into the hills. This was where I was meant to be.
I thought that the Vogue interview done by Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, with Jane Goodall, it's an incredible read. And Jane Goodall came through exactly as she lived, clear eyed, urgent, but never without hope. She spoke of the turning point in 1986 when she shifted from scientist to activist, realizing that saving chimpanzees meant also helping people survive. She was blunt about humanity's conditions, that the most intelligent species on Earth is also the one destroying its only home. How stupid are we? But also, I thought a revelation in many ways, and one can see why the establishment and the firm wanted to keep him hidden away and them writing articles about how incompetent or dumb or stupid he is. But what it showed in that interview that he was none of those things. We learned that Prince Harry is both introspective and deeply concerned about the future. He spoke openly about seeing the world differently as a new father, admitting that we've stolen the future from our children but must work to pay it back. He revealed a humility about his role, emphasizing responsibility, empathy, and the importance of leaving the planet better than he found it. Harry also showed a willingness to confront uncomfortable truth, unconscious bias, inherited aggression, and the way hate is taught. In short, the interview revealed him not as a distant royal with platitudes and grand statements, but a man searching for moral clarity, deeply engaged with the same questions of humanity, justice, and stewardship that defined Jane Goodall's life. Well, I thought I should recruit some people to reenact that interview. Hope you enjoy it.
Jane, you've been known first and foremost as a world-famous primatologist, but moved at some point to focus on people and the human issues around conservation. When did that shift happen, and why?
It happened in 1986. I helped to organise a conference to bring scientists together to learn about comparative chimp behaviour in different environments. We had a session on conservation and on conditions in medical research labs, which was a total shock. I couldn't sleep after that. I went as a scientist and left as an activist, a spokesperson for the environment and for animals. It came to a head when I flew over tiny Gombe, which had been part of the equatorial forest belt in the 60s and 70s. But by 90, it was a tiny island of forest surrounded by completely bare hills. People were struggling to survive. That's when it hit me. If we don't help these people, then we can't even try to save the chimps.
Have you found there's been more support over the years, or have you found it harder to raise money for these causes?
There's more support, more awareness, but at the same time, a lot of apathy. The big message I take around is, every single person makes some impact on the planet every day, and you get to choose what you buy, where it comes from. But the thing you have to do first to make this work is to alleviate poverty. Because if you're really poor, you're going to cut down the last tree, because you've got to live. You're going to take money to kill an elephant, because you have to survive.
You have extreme empathy for all animals, especially primates, and have connected with them in a way that few to no other person has. What have you learned from studying chimpanzees?
I have to say my favourite animal absolutely is not a primate. It's a dog. I love dogs. When I went to the University of Cambridge, they told me I couldn't talk about chimps having personalities, minds, emotions, and I should have given them numbers and not names. I had to be objective. It was my dog who taught me when I was young that they were wrong. We changed the way science thought. You can now study animal intellect and animal emotions. The main difference between chimps and humans is we developed a spoken language. I can tell you about things you haven't seen, and you can tell me about things. We can discuss our different viewpoints. So how is it possible that the most intellectual creature that's ever walked on the planet, that sent a rocket to Mars from which a little robot crept to take photos, is destroying our only home? It seems to be a disconnect between the clever brain and the heart, love and compassion. And we are now making decisions, not based on how will this affect future generations, but how will this affect me now? How will this affect my next election campaign? How will this affect the next shareholders meeting? We've become materialistic, greedy, and that's spread through the world.
We are the one species on this planet that seems to think that this place belongs to us, and only us.
It's crazy to think we can have unlimited economic development on a planet with finite natural resources. There's a lot of violence and war and suffering around the world today, but we're part of the natural world, and if we can't learn to live in harmony with it, then this is going to get worse. There will be more conflicts, people fighting over the last fertile land, the last fresh water.
What we need to remind everybody is, these are things that are happening now. We are already living in it. We are the frog in the water, and it's already been brought to the boil, which is terrifying.
Happening and happened. It is terrifying, especially as you've just had a baby.
I know.
Well, it does make it different, doesn't it?
It does make it different. I think weirdly, because of the people that I've met and the places that I've been fortunate enough to go to, I've always had a connection and a love for nature. I view it differently now, without question. But I've always wanted to try and ensure that, even before having a child and hoping to have children,
Not too many.
2 maximum. But I've always thought this place is borrowed. And surely, being as intelligent as we all are, or as evolved as we all are supposed to be, we should be able to leave something better behind for the next generation.
But in fact, we've stolen their future, not all of it. But we've got to try and pay a little of it back, and get together to try and heal some of the harm, and at least slow down climate change.
What I love about your work is that you focus on the younger generation. When you start to peel away all the layers, all the taught behaviour, the learned behaviour, the experienced behaviour, you start to peel all that away, and at the end of the day, we're all humans.
Especially if you get little kids together, there's no difference. They don't notice my skin's white, mine's black, until somebody tells them.
But again, just as stigma is handed down from generation to generation, your perspective on the world and on life and on people is something that is taught to you. It's learned from your family, learned from the older generation, or from advertising, from your environment. And therefore, you have to be able to have a wider perspective. Going back to my questions, how has what you've learned from chimpanzees impacted how you feel about people?
That we have lots of instincts. From studying the chimps and seeing all the similarities, it was obvious to me that we have inherited aggressive tendencies. When you look around the world, they're everywhere. They're not learned. They're just there. You get angry, but with our brain we mostly control them.
It's the same as an unconscious bias, something which so many people don't understand, why they feel the way that they do. Despite the fact that if you go up to someone and say, what you've just said, or the way that you've behaved, is racist, they'll turn around and say, I'm not a racist. I'm not saying that you're a racist, I'm just saying that your unconscious bias is proving that, because of the way that you've been brought up, the environment you've been brought up in suggests that you have this point of view, unconscious point of view, where naturally you will look at someone in a different way. And that is the point at which people start to have to understand.
Kids are taught to hate. They are actually taught to hate.
You can only be taught to hate. What can we learn from nature? People always say, there is nature, then there is us. But we are part of it. We are nature. Unless we acknowledge we are part of this cycle, then we're always going to be fighting against it. Inevitably, because we're so good at destruction, we'll end up winning and nature might end up losing.
But we won't win. Because when nature loses, that's the end of us. We depend on nature, on clean air, clean water.
I always think to myself, whenever there's another natural disaster, a huge increase in volcano eruptions or earthquakes or flooding, how many clues does nature have to give us before we actually learn or wake ourselves up to the damage and the destruction that we're causing?
I think some of these people at the top know, but for them, the immediate profit, the immediate gain, it's just greed. And then there are the people who feel there's nothing you can do about it anyway, so eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. That's why it's so important to get this new fighting atmosphere. That's why my great hope is in the youth.
They are the solution. I say they. I'm 34 now, so I can't quite...
You're still in the youth category.
Am I? Good. Phew. I hope to remain youthful for the rest of my life.
Well, I have. So you can too.
Well, you surround yourself with the right people and you do the right things, and as long as you can be a kid at heart, then growing up is fun as opposed to scary.
Exactly. And you hopefully get wiser.
Yes, you undoubtedly get wiser. I think, again, what I've noticed in myself is that life is about evolving. You are continually changing, and if you don't think that every day is a learning process, then life is going to be very tricky for you.
Something new every day, that's what I like. Understanding that each day you live, you do make a difference. This materialistic mindset. We've moved away from any kind of spiritual connection with nature, which, to me, is really important.
They've actually proved that children need to be out in nature for good psychological development. Now we've got kids who never have a chance to get in nature. But for me, personally, and I'm sure it's the same for you, nature is a medicine. In so many areas it's free. Now I know more and more people are being brought up in cities completely disconnected from the outside world.
That's why it's so important. These new developments of green in the city. Green walls, green on the roofs. It makes a big, big difference.
It makes a huge difference. This is one question I would love to touch on with you. What can we do to lift up the current and/or emerging leaders within the countries who are dealing with the greatest challenges for wildlife and conservation?
I have talked with some of these leaders, and if you can tell the stories that get into their hearts, sometimes they change. You never know at the time what effect your conversation has had. I was going to Heathrow from London in a taxi. I was very tired. It was 5 a.m, and the taxi driver knew who I was. "Oh, you're just like my sister. She's always looking after these animals. We should be caring about people. She wants to go and help stray dogs and cats, and I haven't got any time for it." So, I sat in the jump seat, and I talked to him, and I told him about the chimps, the stories, and how they help each other, and how they can be altruistic. It didn't work. But when we got to Heathrow, he had no change. He owed me 10 quid, so I said, "Give it to your sister for her work." When I got back from the US, there was a letter from the sister saying, "First, I want to thank you for your donation. Second, what did you do to my brother? He's been 3 times to help me with my work. If I hadn't had that letter, I would never have known. So it's always worth it."
It's always worth it. But there are so many people around the world saying, well, what is the work that you're doing? What effect is it actually having? Sometimes you have to be able to turn around and say, I don't know.
Luckily, I can see proof now. I've lived long enough to see the proof that this has worked.
With Roots and Shoots, a program that provides vocational training to young people, specifically, what is your greatest achievement?
Empowering young people to understand that they can make a difference. When I was 10 years old and wanted to go to Africa, everybody laughed at me. It was only my mother who said, "If you really want this, you'll have to work really hard and take advantage of every opportunity." And I wish Mum was around to know the number of people who said, "Jane, thank you. You've taught me because you did it. I can do it too."
How do you remain hopeful?
First of all, youth. Second, this amazing intellect. We've done a lot of damage with our intellect. We still are doing it, but we've got better and better clean, green energy, and if the government subsidized it, many people could be off the grid altogether. So our intellect really can help us live in greater harmony, and it can help each one of us to leave lighter ecological footprints. Next comes the resilience of nature. There are no bare hills around Gombe anymore, places that we've totally destroyed. There are incredible projects going on. The last reason for hope is the indomitable human spirit.
What an incredible life, an incredible legacy. I hope you enjoyed that reenactment of the British Vogue interview that Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, did for the magazine when Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, was the guest editor for that September issue. Incredible, isn't it? Incredible and inspiring, I must say. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you are new around here or visiting this channel for the first time or discovering us for the first time, well, welcome and thank you. And would you consider subscribing to the channel? It would make a world of a difference to us. If you have already done so, thank you. Our intention is to grow the channel and for more people to discover us and discover the work we do. The backbone of this channel are the subscribers and our members. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your consistency in supporting the work. We're still here because of you, for your efforts and belief in what we do. So thank you. You also show your support by turning on that notification, by also liking, by sharing, and by leaving a comment. It all makes a difference for that mysterious algorithm thing. Additionally, if you can and able to, your financial support makes a really big difference. You can become a member, and membership start as low as $2 a month. And that is going to be rolled out by end of this week. You can also show your support by sending us a super chat or super thanks, buy me a coffee, which the link will be in the comment section. You can also support us by purchasing the digital music that we produce. All of that makes a difference, and that link for the music will also be in the comment section. Thank you. Above all, thank you for being here. Thank you for your unwavering support. It means a lot. Well, and with that very uncomfortable sales pitch, I am awful at it. I hate doing it, but it's necessary. So, thank you very much for being here, for spending your valuable time here with us. I know time is that thing we don't get back. We just don't. So, taking your time to spend it listening, watching, I take that very seriously, and it means a lot to me. So, thank you once again. And remember, be kind to yourself and be kind to your loved ones. And why not? Also to the stranger that is passing by. Until we speak again, much love. Bye for now. Mwah.
We rise, we shine, we rise, we shine. Magic rising, strong and free, voices proud in harmony, true forever, crown and gold, our story lives, it can't be told.